Happening, everyone? We are back. Hex is pumping. Amazing timing. I literally planned to stream like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it just, fate has its way of making cool stuff happen at opportune times. Congrats, everyone. That doesn't mean anything. It's going to keep going back up. Not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. However, these gentlemen will get into a lot of stats, metrics, and otherwise to keep you more informed. But I don't know. The Fed rates are still down. Or still up, and the discounts still there with the GPDC. I did a whole macro stream the other day just to go over some like basics on that stuff too. So don't get too excited, but hey, it does feel good to get those green candles every once in a while. Kai's is in the house. Welcome. Always good to see you. Awesome clips. Yeah, I called this the Kai's pump earlier on Twitter because Kai's clipped me talking about how cheap Hex was for T-shares and how much the calculators and stuff were showing all the amazing things you can do over time and accumulating all that stuff. And then the EHEX just it's like 30, 40, 50, 70% or something like that. Amazing stuff. Say hi to the chat real quick, and I will bring these two gentlemen in. We're going to go for about an hour 15 or so from now. Hex Edits, what's happening, man? Always good to see you. Okay, Hudson. Squirrels here. Hex can heal. Appreciate that nice comment you left earlier as well on Twitter. Always appreciate the kind words from people. AxisAlive is in the back. Vets in crypto, what's happening, man? He's here as well. Luther, what's happening? Yeah, Axis is here. Dave Richland, EHEX. Yeah, everyone who likes EHEX is probably pretty happy right now. I guess if nothing else, a status symbol. Even if you didn't buy it that low, I'll bring up a tweet I made later. I kind of want to talk about that too. Of things that go down 99%. Isn't that what you would want if you believe they'll go back up? Isn't that? I'll maybe bring that up a little bit later. We'll discuss it. Who else? Black Pepper, give me a time check. Appreciate that. Let's always do it 5 minutes afterwards to make sure that I give myself a little extra time in case we need to prepare in the green room, or I just want to take my time. That's what I do. Kaiser, Rockets, boom. Armando, welcome, man. Welcome. Yeah, I think I took Saturday off. I've streamed every day for the last 10 days or so. I took one Saturday off. And I may take tomorrow off, but no promises. We'll see. But I got open mic on Friday, so come back for that or join. StreamYard link will be in the chat. Luna, C Point, how's it going? Hexfire is here. Everyone's ready to go. Not financial advice, maybe effing financially free from the scam society. Cool, Crypto Dave. Them boys, we're here. The chat of Donner Swans is in the chat, and we're going to leave it on Luna C Point because there's a heart right there, and that's what we like to do. We like to spread the love around. Welcome back to the show, Chrispyman and AxisAlive. How's it going, gentlemen?
Hey, now.
What's going on, guys? Glad to be
here. Good.
This is maybe our, I don't even have as many fingers as I have had times on RHMax's show.
Dude, it's got to be, Crispy's in on a few times too.
Me and Crispy combined, with our combined fingers, we have enough.
That's got to be like 15. You two combined, 15 or 16, I'm going to say. Yeah. I can check the stats, but it's pretty high.
It's always pretty fire too, man. We always come, we pack the cannon and we load it and we launch rockets around here. So
packing heat, figuratively speaking.
Power Hour.
It's Power Hour, yeah.
Power of the hour.
Power Hour, and that's what originally the idea of the stream. Maybe sometime I'll have the Dev Huey on and Ben Sierra. A lot of people making a lot of great charts and sharing all that information too. Is to just go through the amazing fundamentals, charts, TA, dim, good feels, which hopefully turn to reality and the greenest of all candles. One day we may see again with Hex, or maybe not. Maybe it all goes to zero. But I love to see the analysis and amazing work you all do. And Hex Power Hour is all about that opportune timing. I got my toxic, offensive Richard Hart Maxwell shirt on since 2017. Boom. And I'm so close your eyes if you are offended by that. However, best products in the universe. That being said, though, Hex Power Hour, guys, hexfire.io, AxisAlive is here.
Hey, man, I've been meaning to ask you, where did you get these T-shirts at? At least not that particular one, but the one that the PulseChain, it says PulseChain Matt Gaines or something like that.
The big Pumpamental?
The big Pumpamental shirt. Dude, that is like the softest fabric. Like if I was going to make merch, I would want to use like a shirt like that.
It's trade secrets, man. I keep quiet. I make them
under the table or something.
It's maybe in the green room. I'll let you know a little bit about that. But right, I got T-shirts on lock, man. That's what I do. I do validator scripts and T-shirts. That's what I'm known for.
Speaking of validator scripts, man, have you seen the amount of validators on PulseChain?
there's quite a bit, over 45,000, 46,000 maybe.
It hit
Yeah.
46, man.
They keep adding.
Oh,
David
Gotta
Feeder's
keep
running like a small army of validators over there.
Oh
dude,
yeah.
he's getting people, him, Gamma, Dip Slayer, myself, obviously, like giving people the tools to literally just go set their own thing up, or a lot of people run services too, where you can get them to help you set it up, or we may have some delegation coming up with Alex may fork Rocket Pool and other services coming out. Like we're getting more people online. 100K next year doesn't seem like a stretch at all. Like maybe even this year, who knows?
I know this is like a HEX discussion, but I was curious, like, what your thoughts were on, as Pulse starts to perform well, do you expect people to start pulling their Pulse validators to sell Pulse? Or do you think it's going to be one of those situations where, like in the mining and Bitcoin market, where people keep flooding in and oversaturating the validator market?
It's a good question. It definitely, I think, well, I don't even think that's, first I answer that, then I'll say like what's actually could be a problem going forward. So I think where you lock it up, you kind of make that investment. It's a little bit like you got to have some hardware, or maybe if you can delegate it, that's a different situation. But if you've learned Linux, if you've like set up these servers and you went through the process, it's kind of this this energy you've already got into it. And I think it's going to be a lot harder mentally to back out of something like that and go take your Pulse and go somewhere else than it would be if you were just clicking some buttons on a portal and unstaking, restaking, stuff like that.
I guess a better question would be like, at what price point is the price so high? It's like, all right, you're going to start to see this huge offloading of Pulse from validators.
So at some point, it's like people, maybe they want to take profit with the deposits they made down to be a validator. I hope we're so lucky to get to that point to see people exiting. But I think the biggest question that I've run into is, what if the Pulse price goes so high that it becomes, being a validator isn't even an option anymore? Like that's gonna be interesting if people are exiting. Yeah, because we 32 millioned it. So it's like, right now,
32 million times 10x would be, what is that, like over almost 20 grand a validator, right? Something like that.
It could go high. It could go 50 grand a validator. It could go 100K. Like, what do we do then? Like, I've talked about this before. Do we do we fork the network and change the parameters to make it more democratized, or do we just say, hey, that's a good problem to have? Like, what do we do?
Not for that reason, but maybe for other reasons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about the validating, right? I think we got a real long runway to go before we run into that problem. But yes, I agree with you. But to answer your question, Axis, my opinion, I don't. Being a validator and seeing what I get right now, the decision to put capital in for validation is based on APY for me, and the APY is slowly coming down as we have more validators. But of course, that could change, with more action on chain. Right. I mean, all the dynamics of that. So I see that. But man, if you do see a price increase like you're talking about, why would I ever remove ever? I think I'd just leave it there forever.
Yeah.
And then just pull.
Because I'm with you on that. I think that the people are going to get priced out of buying or like starting new validators. And so it's going to be like this click, right? The first, the 46,000 or whatever it gets up to, 60,000 guys that are validating. And because the cost of entry is so high and the payouts are going to be so good, we're talking like better than a 1-year HEX stake, that like the short end of the Pulse HEX system is going to be validating Pulse potentially. And then the longer end is going to be HEX staking. And that'll be the new dynamic. And perhaps you could throw ink farming in there somewhere too. But it's really going to be like this game of tossing around time frames and how much yield I'm getting in each of the different baskets of opportunity.
Yeah, I think the more validators come in, the APR, obviously it could go down. And then do people pull out, or do they leave it in, get the price appreciation, keep printing the money? Again, it's printing money. So you're getting pulsed every day. You're getting the validator fees, more volume, a lot of more chances to get some of the bigger fees. But also, when the price goes up, it becomes much more expensive to become a validator. So if you become a validator now, when it's like 1K, 2K, whatever it is, versus if it becomes 100K in the future, 50K, or whatever it may be, that's an opportunity in and of itself. So a lot of people don't see it or want to get into it, but being a validator, they see the low APY, I'm only making 10, 15% or whatever it is. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, and I mean, they'll be saying the same thing about HEX stakes, right? Chrispyman.
Yeah, I do. Hey, and don't forget, there could be some new options coming along, like validation as a service, pool validation. So there are ways that things might happen that other people would get, even if the prices were high.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, that's all the PulseChain talk we can have right now. It's all because HEX has taken over the show.
Hell
Actually,
yeah.
on the show. What do you guys want to talk about?
So what did what you have in mind to show today, Crispy? In terms of like what I got some data to pull up, but I want to know kind of what you were thinking, what kind of angle you wanted to take. If there's anything new that you're seeing on chain or in behavior. I know I've seen, you know, for people that don't know, Crispy does like daily streams. And some of that is content has been curated about, you know, exposing how many millionaire hexagons are out there right now at these prices.
Woohoo.
And
Oh, you know, that changed. That just changed. I bet you it doubled.
right, which you just laid right into my trap.
I guess got trapped.
So
You know, I was gonna say along with it, you know, I did the weekly. I did my weekly DCA stream this week. I actually did it on time. You know, from I think I did measurement from June 1st till today. You actually have a higher ROI from June 1st if you had been DCing in EHEX than HEX right now. How about that?
bro,
Flipped it in one day. You know, hey,
where
nobody
the
knows
footer is
what's gonna
at?
happen.
Where the
What was
footer is
that?
at? I'm looking
Yeah,
at
where
you.
the foo?
Where the footer is at?
Where's the foo? Give me a foo.
EHEX is one of those things.
Hey.
It's
Pull this chart up once. I mean,
Yeah.
why not, right? Why not? Not this one, but this one. No, not this one, but this one. All right, where the footer is at? This is the ratio on PHEX to EHEX. So this isn't unprecedented, right? EHEX taking a lead on PHEX like this. I mean, this is a big spike down. We've seen it before. We saw it here. And I mean, going back, there was a lot of volatility early on, but yeah, I mean, it's just like where's like this narrative of like Hex. Look, if it's less liquid on one chain, it's easier to pump. If gas fees come down on one chain, by the way, I've seen GUE around 5 to 8 GUE lately. So staking cost is a non-issue. You can get all the ETH you need for this entire bull run today at these prices, and hold on to that puppy for 2, 3, 4 years, and you're good. Like that. So that narrative's kind of gone. I've been tracking this ratio for a while, and it's not like this spill down on toward the EHEX in favor of EHEX just happened overnight. Like this has been rolling over for like almost 4 weeks, right? So it's, you know, anyone who thinks like the market is decided on one hex or the other, the only thing I see in this chart is that the market likes both of the hexes, and like this is a huge range that you can trade just inside of here. So I guess there's no real capstone to this, but my God, like. Imagine flipping this at the right time or just holding on to both, right? I don't know if you guys got any comments on the ratios or.
I mean, just when it went 2.5, that's when I was like, whoa, that's you know, I was thinking 2.1 for a while as you see the line there, the yellow line, and then I don't know when it started going high. Maybe that's the question I see from this too is why did it go higher? Is there any clues to like why would it go really high and then drop back down? Were there some events or whales or otherwise?
I know why people bought it. That's why.
That's
I know
insight.
It's tongue in cheek, but that's really that. You know, yeah. I mean, I wish to tell you that there was like some sort of magic behind everything besides people bought it and people sold it. But I think that what you saw was a narrative, and it might be the correct narrative, guys. So all the haters go hate, but it might be the correct narrative. I mean, PulseChain has higher throughput. It's got more velocity of money. It's got more users. I know I did 1,000 transactions. I don't do 2 on Ethereum. So there's a lot of stickiness to it. The narrative is there. Build, build, build. And then meanwhile, Ethereum's kind of like just doing what Ethereum does, has always done. And we've been seeing bleeding off of usage, etc. And so just simply those factors and people jumping on that narrative to buy up the supply over on the PulseChain, yeah, that's what drove the price up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why it's possible for this to happen and for it to actually completely swap around again and switch. It really just depends on someone like this dude comes in with $1 million, like about a couple $1 million worth of ETH and just starts buying.
Oh, you mean this guy?
Yeah, that guy.
This guy that's been buying for weeks now. And he's probably
Yeah,
brought
so
in how much millions of dollars has he brought in? A ton. Like look at down
yeah.
here in the transaction log. We're talking like 14 ETH buy, 13 ETH, 14, 10 ETH, 21 ETH. This guy's amassed a huge war chest. Like he's currently sitting on 91 million on his wallet. You can see that here.
And he staked 300 million, right?
I believe so, but I don't.
Mine.
I was checking on here earlier to find it on here. He must have staked it on a different wallet because I can't find it. But
Oh no, I found it under. I can pull it up for you later, but I found it.
yeah, it's so. I mean, if he's got so, I mean, the narrative here. Silver the Antidote tweeted it out already. That I mean, this guy accumulated 300 million down here at these lows, and now that he's staked 300 plus, he's sitting on an additional 90 million. Like this guy, he basically owns the market down here. Because anyone else that's trying to compete with him has just been like trading their way out of their position. I could just pick any one of these whales. Here, this guy's accumulated a bunch too. So there's another one. But let's see, where's another one? See here, this guy is selling and buying, trading, probably losing his position overall. What about this guy? Tons of selling, losing his position. And where's all this position going? It's going into it's being consolidated into stronger hands. Another guy, like same situation.
That's what I was wondering too. Like, was there, again, just back to the ratios, the sentiment change? Was it literally just people waiting for a bottom, or have they deemed this the bottom? Like, all right, let's just put on all these millions of dollars now.
A lot of reasons to think that this, will be the bottom. You'll look back, be like, wow, that was the bottom. One thing that Crispy said that, I don't know if everyone caught it, but he said that if you'd been DCAing into HEX since June, you'd actually be up more on HEX from this pump. And you could take a look at like some of the longer term hex charts like this. I like to pull up the Uniswap B1 chart because it goes all the way back. But there's indicators here that the bottom is in. Like for example, down here on the bottom, look how long and extended we were on the RSI here at the lows. Actually, let me maximize it out so it's easier to see. But yeah, look how long we spent down here on these lows and just grind it along down here, and then look at the pop we got now. It beat out the old high, so we made a new high on the RSI. This is weekly, so this will close Sunday night at 7 Eastern. But I mean, this to me says we can come up and test somewhere in the middle of these RSI bands. And there's other data to back that up too. For example, the Mayer multiple, if I can find it here. 1 second.
Mayer multiple.
Had it up earlier. I don't know why I closed it, but let's see here.
Named after John Mayer.
John Mayer. Trace Mayer from the Bitcoin days.
Of course.
So if you look at the combined hex, all right, give Chrispyman at HexFire some thumbs up. He puts a lot of this data together for us so that we have it.
Oh wait,
this is combined. Now, if you look at let's look at the combined first, because if we're looking at the entire history of Hex, this is the equivalent of just including PHEX in as part of the stock split. Imagine that you just doubled the supply effectively, and then the combined values equals the total stock value. The original bottom was back here after the big collapse last summer in June, and that hit a level of a 0.20. The lows might even went a little lower. Might have been a 1.8. And then that grind, you see how this grinded up slowly over time? Even though the price was trending down, the 200-day moving average was coming down farther and farther and farther and farther and getting closer to us, so that at some point when the market sentiment flipped, the price could easily get back above and just eject off that 200-day moving average. Well, yeah, it took a while. It took from June all the way until January, so about 6 months for this bottoming period of steadily climbing up closer and closer to the 200-day moving average. But we're doing it again in the combined hex price. So it's we bottomed here around 220 again, same spot, and now we're grinding up slowly. And today's pop kind of like signaled that it's time. Now if I break them down and split them in half, I look at EHEX first. Look how long this just stayed flat down here but it's got a slight incline. You can't really see it that well because it's so tiny, probably for you guys looking from home, but this is on a positive slope. And then today you got the first little pump and into that closer to the 200-day. Now you can see how far we extended off this. But the way I read this is look at the opportunity just to get to the 200-day moving average. Now, in the entire history of HEX, it's always made it back to the 200-day moving average. And in this case, it actually exploded off that level. So then the question becomes, how long does it take the market to accumulate these prices down here and then get it back up to the 200-day? And then what kind of a reaction do we see at that level? There's plenty of profit to be taken just between here and wherever the 200-day ends up by the time we reach it. And then here we are with PHEX. So it's a little bit of a similar situation, but PHEX is closer. It's further along in terms of getting closer to the 200-day. But same situation. Obviously, this data back here is EHEX data, right? Because this was pre-fork. But down here, this isn't so flat and elongated. This is actually on a stronger positive slope heading back. And anywhere under this green dashed line, these are extreme deep value discount zones where it's like automatic winning. Like if you just want to win, close your eyes and buy one of the hexes down here because you're going to win hard.
I do like to win. People are asking for a link for this chart. If you have a public one, I could put it in the chat.
No, it's not a public chart at the moment.
Nope, never mind.
Yeah, so
no,
exclusive.
it's okay. That's okay. It has the I mean, I get into details, not because I don't want it to be, it's because I don't have the capability of making it that way at the moment.
And because Chrispy's launching a new site, which will have a lot of this functionality built into it at that point. So yeah, you guys have no idea how much Chrispy's working on in the background. I get the privilege of seeing it built out firsthand. You know, we dropped back early in the summer about things like a market cycle theory course and this new HexFire website coming, and yeah, it's all still in the works and it's coming. So just get excited. You know, as the green candles print, so will the new content and the new updates.
Yeah, thanks, man. I know I bounce a lot of things off of Axis and some other people too, but a lot of the information that we're digging up.
Got a question here. Got a question here on BankHex too. People are wondering about how that affects EHEX and why is it going up when there's this thing looming over it that everyone's worried about?
What are they worried about?
Oh, just how BankHex is playing in this, or your thoughts?
Well, I mean, so we can go and actually look and see. BankHex hasn't been a problem for a while. A lot of that FUD can be like. So shout out to JPlush369. If you go search his tag at JPlush369 and then type in BankHex, he's usually quite often coming in and updating us on the BankHex situation. And so here was his post from October 1st. So what's that been now? 18 days. They did dump, I believe, 8 million. That was pennies down there at those lows at that point. But you can click here and you can actually export out and see what they're sitting on. BankHex hasn't made a move in a while. They're sitting on 741 million. Hex, it's about $3 million. And honestly, guys, compared to the amount of wealth that the Hexicans have, that $3 million is peanuts. It'll get eaten up in a heartbeat if they decide to start market dumping hard. And actually, I would encourage it. What you want to see on this EHEX chart is BankHex to come in, nuke it back down, and keep nuking it, and then it'll get bought back up, and then we can actually get sent off to the races. But I don't think they intend to do that. You know, sure, we can come test the base again and break out and go, but that was a big forceful move that has been made, and this is a lot of hex accumulated in these ranges. So I don't think BankHex really becomes a problem. You know, I'm targeting certain levels here for where I think that they're going to step in and sell some, but you know, who knows? You know, I don't really know. Is it when you're looking at like the market dynamics shifting so positively on everything? Are they going to be that much of a factor? You know, around a penny and below? I don't personally think so, but if you're one of those guys that likes to wait, or you're a steely-eyed shark and you want the best price, you know, try to flush them out, try to piss them off on Twitter. Do whatever you got to do to get them to start selling some more.
Yeah, it's different when you look at if you look at a large bag like that or a large investment coming in. Sometimes people try to like compare buying to selling. Well, this guy just came in with $1 million, so these guys might just come out with $1 million. It's not the same thing, really. because there's different objectives. The guy coming in, I'm assuming, knows what he's doing and is willing to accept the volatility that'd be created by that. But when you're trying to exit, you just drive the price down against yourself. And how can you really exit? I mean, like think about it, right? Somebody gave you $1 million worth of HEX. You're trying to get the $1 million out. You're not trying to get 100,000 out. And so it's a whole different methodology to try to get out. That's why even what Axis is saying is like, they're not going to do that, right? Now, unless they just want to get out of it for some reason. I don't know. Why would they? Why not wait until it goes 100x, 10x?
I mean, we saw it before back here. I'll take you guys back to March when we were in this zone. Somewhere, so there was a big push off the base here, and we broke and went from this was around 2-ish cents, 2.2 cents, and we ripped all the way up to 5 cents. But somewhere in here, a big account with about 70-ish million HEX ended a stake, and there was a concern, and you can go back and find on my channel or on Crypto Sloth's channel, myself, Crypto Sloth, and Silver the Antidote talking about how that guy was a potential threat to kill this rally early. But the guy didn't sell. And then this thing just had, multiple wave sequence higher. And, people want the best bang for their buck. So like if things are moving, like I don't think they're going to step in and sell till they get like an indicator that it's going to come a lot lower. Right. So you'd wait for this sort of a blow off top if you're BankHex to really come in, or you'd want to, if you're analyzing this from the sidelines, you'd want to look for certain indicators like, perhaps, I don't know, what does this look like on the MACD, for example? So when the MACD got this, so you see how this on this MACD here, these deep green bars means that there's a lot of new money. The deep green money flows means there's a lot of fresh capital coming in. And then you had this first light green bar, and that's around when that guy's stake ended. And then you had a deep green, which a push higher for 29%. Then you had these lighter green bars, and there just wasn't the same demand and bid that there was early on in the rally. And so you could have saw this kind of action where these bars turned light green and started to sell off. And then, when that next big deep green bar did print, in this case, the market took that as a signal to dump it, basically, because there was definitely a weakening of the trend. And then it became very clear when this blue line crossed the signal line, the MACD blue crossed the orange signal line. That was the end of the rally, and then these flipped to deep red bars. So you can look to things like the MACD to tell you when trend changes are coming. So I think BankHex wouldn't act until they saw a potential trend change. Now, here's something cool. Like, where are we at now? We just got a deep green, and this is still trending up from the debt bottom. So like, if you look back to the rally up here, this cross happens here. It was around here, which was around 1 to 2 cents. Breaks out, and then this got way overextended up into the skyline before it crossed back down, and then we had a decrease in price. Well, we just got our cross here, and then of course the price continued down sideways, which was just over exuberance of sellers just like capitulating, forced selling, and the whole EHEX is dead narrative. It all kind of played a part. But now a lot of those guys are out of EHEX, or they're staked too far out and they can't nuke without taking a huge penalty, so they won't.
100%.
So it's given us some runway. And Crispy's data will back this up too. So I got him here for that reason. But that's what I'm seeing is like, look, the MACD lines are still under the neutral line. So here's neutral. This red line here, we're still underneath. We this thing can go way up here, kind of before we could be threatened with a BankHex sell, which that's a significant bit higher. So I'll leave it there.
There's your BankHex update.
Yeah, and plus, what, people who buy or receive, in this case, they got that sack, right? But you gotta expect that the market's going to sell, right? It's all part of the game. I mean, it's just like this new guy that came in. We think new guy. I mean, I looked at the wallets. I don't know. I mean, has been accumulating since back in May. Could it be somebody we know? Sure, probably is somebody. But I mean, in terms of the wallet, it's kind of a new wallet. But there's a lot of like weird little test transactions and stuff. Doesn't look to me like maybe a seasoned whale, but maybe it is. You know, but it's all in the game, right? And so that guy's been buying the price up. And you know what? There might be some people who are going to sell it down. You saw some of that. He's been fighting it the last couple of days, right?
Yeah.
And but the long term, that doesn't change how things really work, right? More people will buy, and therefore the price will go up.
Yeah.
Just
So if you want to pull up Silver's comment too when you get a second.
So about to do, you know.
Oh, silver.
So Silver's saying that he thinks based on the guy that kind of pushed the price off the lows, that he thinks that after such a controlled DCA, not to spook the market, that he's likely out of cash and now relying on the rest of the market to protect price or push it higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot. I don't want to say too much about strategy about how the LP works here, but if you're in this guy's shoes, you better have whale friends that's going to come in, or you wanted to ignite the market here with enough force that the market can take it higher, which, you know, based on the way the liquidity is set up right now, it's probably one of those situations where it won't take as much ammunition. Like if the market just gets on board with the sentiment change, this thing can actually rally a lot higher. Of course, we have overhead resistance here. This is obvious. And I think, you know, there's plenty of other big players eyeing this chart right now, waiting for someone to lose their load and like let this come back down and test this base, because, you know, if you can get another 2 to 4 weeks down here testing around this base going into the end of the year, I mean, that gives another big player time to load up on ammunition, and then together they can moonshot this thing and really create a market at a much more substantially higher price, where it kind of forces everyone else to accumulate a new range. And that's something that we've seen before in the past. For example, back in 2020 and 2019, well, 2020 here, like this was like just one of those periods where, you know, one guy actually just set the market on fire, and then everything just went up. This whole was just a giant accumulation range, right? So it's these types of things are what's possible when a couple of guys with deep pockets get kind of on the same team.
Green team, yeah, Silver, another comment here. If you had more cash, you would accumulate. DCA accumulating for sure is my thinking now.
Yeah. The other thing too is, like, we've been looking at these liquidities. I'm going to take a refresh on this. You could see that there's been an increase in the amount of Ethereum. So top panel is Ethereum, middle is HEX, and bottom is USDC. So we've seen an increase in ETH in the liquidity pools, and now we've started to see a positive slope on the USDC coming into the liquidity pools. It's not much. I mean, this is just a couple $100,000, but in ETH terms, we're up to like 300, 350. I've seen this pool get as high as 3,000 before. Like in the peak FOMO bull markets, these you can see 3,000 to 4,000 in recent years. Back in the bull market of 2020, we saw this get up to like 10,000 to 14,000 ETH in the pools. Of course, Ethereum's dollar value back then was a few $100s. It was the beginning of the bull market. So, but what the key thing here is that how the HEX in the pools has been slowly being drained out of the pools, and someone is absorbing this, and that's kind of what we're pointing to with this big whale. Now he's probably not on his own, I would say. So if somebody at a minimum, somebody else is watching this chart, trying to also accumulate to make this move to take EHEX even higher. And again, we can look at things like the EHEX ratio against Pulse here. This is something that Chrispyman brought up to me times before in the past. So there was a time where this is what this looked like, and we were just range bound inside of here. And that was pretty darn bullish to me, because everyone was shitting on EHEX at the time, but yet EHEX was confirming that it is a store of value, at least in Pulse terms, trading inside of this, you know, not very big range. What is this, like a 30% range? That's peanuts for crypto, and opportunity for some to capture the lows or sell the highs. But what ended up happening was this there was a break of this trend, and then this was just like over exuberance by the bears, just getting it to push down and totally kill any semblance of strength in EHEX. But then, you know, shout out to the AxisAlive.com pro members and elite members. They got this call early, and Crispy can vouch for this. That on Monday night, this was sitting down here, and yeah, they got an early look at potentially what would end up being this huge rally off these levels, right? So they could have realized a 38% gain in pulse terms by capturing that EHEX at its lows. So
It's freaking epic, right? People like you're a magician. You know, are you not entertained? Right.
I knew he was a magician
Yeah,
once.
yeah. But to be fair, you've been, yeah, because I watched the streams you're on. You've been talking about this type of scenario for a couple months in public too. So, but yeah, the sweet spot was the other day for sure.
Silver says, Crispy, is your data showing anything in regards to average buyers during the last couple of weeks as staking it out, or seem to be more trader types or too early to show?
I'll have to go look before you answer. Just yeah, I mean, I'll take a look. I'll come back in a second.
So then, while you're looking that up, the other thing here is I had Crispy make this hex stoplight and beaker setup where we can see, okay, what does it mean if there's more hex in the pools or less? Well, if there's more hex in the pools, like hundreds of millions, we have the red stoplight because it means that the market is being flooded out. There's lots of hex. Hex is no longer scarce. It's abundant. It's everywhere, and it's cheap. And the reverse of that would be if we get a stoplight that turns green, it means like it's full on go. Green candles are printing. There's a huge shortage of hex for the market, and the market demand is really outpacing its ability to supply hex to the market. It's being absorbed and accumulated by a few strong players that's moving the market forward. And we find ourselves today somewhere in the middle, around 45 million. 134 million hex in the pools, but this was as high as 225 million at the peak. So about half of that has been, and that's a moving target because, you know, people sell into it and then people pull it off, so that the overall trend ends up looking something like this, where it's like a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit up, a little bit down, but the overall trend is that it's been getting evaporated out of the market for some time.
And evaporated, is that, you know, what does that tell us as far as, you say people are soaking it up? You think they're taking it off market? They're holding it? They're
taking it off market. Yep. These whales that are, you know, I got to go back and find them again, but like this one guy we keep keying on that bought the 300 million. That guy's been buying this whole range down here. And so what they're doing, yeah, like Crispy said earlier, he staked 300 million for 14 days, and then he took the other, he's sitting on another 90 some million. So they're just going to take that off market, and then they basically control like a lot of the active supply at these levels, because the price is so cheap that a seller doesn't have as much power to push the chart down. And because this guy did this slowly over time, he's bought his time back on the chart. Unless you can convince another big whale to dump like $1 billion to get it down, you're not going to be able to it's very unlikely that you're going to convince another big holder to just dump hundreds of millions back into the pools, right? Because that's such a hard thing to obtain in time. The amount of time that it takes to mint hundreds of millions of hex is very, very long. And the guys sitting on their stack are probably putting it to work either through liquidity or through staking, or like this has been the longest, most brutal redistribution of hex from it being hyperinflated over this period of time. Like, you know, this whole period here, this was hex hyperinflation. And this is when the price goes up the most, and you're getting the most adoption, and there's also the most hexes coming onto the market until the top, and then all that extra hex gets flooded back through the system and like backs up the pipe, so to speak, until the flow of water catches up to the right proper rate. And then that's when you start to get that bottoming where there's a shortage again, and you can start to curve your way out with, you know, increased adoption or just consolidation of that overflow into a few hands that are looking to make this market again. So yeah, here we are back at the base again. This is going all the way back to 2020 April candle close here. This big, I'm gonna make a big purple line here. This is where we were when in April 2020, right? At 0028, when this, after Godwell pumped us up, and then the following week the market took it higher. This was also support back in June, and then it was like, you know, support before big payday, and then it was support at big payday. So this is what I call the legacy trend line, or the legacy support line. Like, this is the level that should hold, unless this thing's a piece of dirt and it's just going to go to zero. This, like, if you were to crack this level, it would put into question a lot about HEX's merit, and like the kind of the merit of HEX on PulseChain as well, because the whole store of value narrative would kind of fade away. And you know, if you did get, let's say you did, I don't really see that, but if you did get a push down, let's say like this, someone's going to come in and snipe up literally billions of it, so that they just took it off. They could take billions off the market all at once, and it would have the same effect. This thing would just go poof. It would be like all that supply all at once would get sniped, because like, don't forget how many hundreds of millions of dollars are out there in crypto, and that during this period here from October of 21, where are we at here? Somewhere in here, from like, let's say from this zone till the following October here, we traded $6 billion of volume inside of this box. $6 billion. So where'd the money go? It didn't all get spent on cocaine and hookers, guys. Smart money did take some of that off the table, and they're sitting on it in the background. And they're using it down here to reload. Yeah, it takes a long time for a lot of this stuff to play out.
Yeah, it's a big lesson, right? I mean, I'm sure people more experienced have already known this, that you got to be prepared after you hit those tops for a year, sometimes almost 2 years before you're going to take another action.
Hey, if you don't mind, guys, just for a second, Luckbox asked a question. I'm just going to just pull over to AxisAlive.com for a second. And so if anyone's interested and wants to know more, my group is kicking ass and taking names right now in the market, and on a lot of different plays. It's not just the HEX play, but of course, HEX is like my major thing that I talk about. HEX and Pulse are my favorite two assets right now. But if you are interested in this, go check out the services page on AxisAlive, and you can sign up for membership plans here, do a call, or come here for the TA course when that launches in the coming months. Thanks for letting me get that out too.
Never again. AxisAlive.com. Yeah, Crispy, were you finding some stats for?
Yeah, go ahead and switch if you can share my screen real quick. I mean, a lot of people have already seen that we've been having the adoption. So Silver's question was really, hey, what have you seen that might be different in the HEX community right now? And mostly everything is pretty much going the same way as it's been going over month. So we have been, of course, we know that T-share rate goes up over time. Got it. We know that. T-shares have been coming down over time. That trend's intact. Payouts are going up over time. That's intact. People who have miners, their APY is going up, right? So all of these things are happening. Probably the biggest change, besides the fact you can see that we're seeing this HEX adoption, the staker adoption on the PulseChain side, while we do see a drawdown on the Ethereum side. I mean, and I don't know how statistically important it is, but it's lower, right? That we're going down, which is probably more about the holder adoption. So both. Now, this is something that people have spoken about before, but when you're in periods like this where the prices are way down, you tend to be going down and holder adoption. But once you start doing a turnaround, even on EHEX, you would expect to start to see these numbers go up, and up. And so this kind of indicates, and this is what I think, Silver, what you were getting at after, is that we have more interest now from people who are interested in maybe short, medium, even long-term, trades, right? And so it seems to me like we're seeing accumulation, greater accumulation in there, and but not on the staking side. This is on the holder side. Staking might be holding up okay, but we're not seeing T-shares go up. So that means we don't have that extra 500 million a month coming in, buying more T-shares, right? So we're going to just continue to see that. But
yeah, and it's not like that's unprecedented, right? that kind of behavior in cryptocurrency. We've seen that before with the Bitcoin hash rate, where hash rates are at the lowest at the bottoms of the market because of the cost to produce. And what's the cost to produce in Hex? It's time, right? So that time element of like of missing out on that first 5 or 10x quick pump off the lows is is definitely something people are waiting for, right? So, in Bitcoin world, it would always be like, look, it's costing me a lot of overhead and time and energy to mine these Bitcoins. And so hash rates are lowest when the price is at the lowest. But as price increases of Hex, you're actually going to see staker adoption pick up on both chains.
I don't understand what I'm seeing on the screen right now. I thought everyone in Hex was broke, but I see something about current Hex millionaires.
Well, since somebody asked that question, bring it up. I've been tracking the whole millionaire thing, and this is looking at both chains, and of course, it changed significantly overnight, right? Because we had this huge increase. So this is multiplying the price of Hex on either chain by the amount of wallet controls, and so currently, a little bit over 200 wallets are what I would consider to be millionaire Hex holders. And that's either in liquid or mining or both. And you can see some of the dollar numbers. They don't mean a whole lot as far as what the dollars are up here. But it's cool to kind of see what's happened and just how quickly things can change. We kind of think that, I mean, most of us, unfortunately, I think a lot of us focus in on this $1 million value, right? And get all excited because $1 million probably doesn't matter too much. But to Randy's point in the chat, he was saying, hey, what happens, when do we get to dolphins being millionaires, again? And but this is, here's a little slide that kind of goes along with that. A simple 10x brings us up to almost 2,000 millionaires across the chains. Now just think about that, 10x. 10x. We're talking about going to 4 cents or 8 cents on this token. Just think about the exuberance we're going to see if that happens. Now it is all on paper, okay? I mean, people, again, you have to be able to exit it, but I don't know. The green candles make you feel pretty good. So what I have done on this, Max, is to explain it because I didn't really explain it. I've got both chains, and I've separated out the chains between EHEX and HEX, and then the count of liquid millionaires for each chain only, and then those mining only, and then the very small number of people who are actually millionaires on both sides. And when I go back to the current data, I found it super curious, that there really aren't that many liquid millionaires in terms of holding HEX. Now they can be split against multiple addresses, right? We're just looking at addresses, but I mean, I felt like this was like a small number. Like I had to double check it and ask for peer review. That's how low it was. And then how few of them are actually also mining, as well as holding liquid. So these are just some of the numbers I fool around with. So it's for fun, kind of see what we're at. But a lot of us focus in on this millionaire status.
Yeah, and the liquid and mining. So would a lot of the mining ones, would they be like HSIs then? If there's smaller numbers, liquid and mining, that would be like the people versus, or some of these HSIs you think are doing some of the mining numbers too?
Yeah, the HSIs should be incorporated in here. I'm sure there's different ways I could split it out and kind of see who that is, as far as owners of the HSIs at any particular time.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of people have both a little bit of liquid and then maybe majority mining or vice versa. So it's just interesting just looking at those numbers on this too.
Yeah. There's about 1 million ways to kind of split it up, But yeah, I mean, we talk about our community and number of millionaires made, right? So that's a talking point. It's a narrative,
Hex at $1 would be way more than 100x. I wonder how many millionaires that would make.
Oh, it'd be ungodly number.
You're counting billionaires at that point?
Yeah, I think you might be.
Yeah.
I think you might be.
Axis has some hex fractals. What's happening?
So here's some cool stuff. All right. So all right, so this is from my chart set from back in, it was a Q2 wrap up. So this was in the middle of the summer. I did this. This is a, NFA, right? Following hex fractals are not for making investment decisions, right? So just remember that this past performance is not indicative of future results. All right, cool. So I posted this fractal back in January 8th of this year. People have seen it a bunch. It's my pinned tweet. And I had us coming down here to 0.2%. Well, why? Well, that's just because that's what Bitcoin did in the 2019 cycle. And I figured if HEX is supposed to be a store of value and compete with Bitcoin, perhaps it'll perform the same way, especially in this hyperinflationary period. And I even have annotated here triple bottom, and then PulseChain launch would be the peak. And then this would be our big payday 2.0 moment. And then at some time in next year, we could actually be going back to 10 cents on this is on EHEX, right? So if you want to do your own mental modeling and figure out what the ratio is of the two hexes or however you want to work it out, I think the combined value should at least tap 10 cents before next summer based on this fractal. So then I went ahead and I updated that. This would have been, again, back in August, so a couple months ago. And you could see how accurate it actually ended up playing out where we came down here. Now this is sitting at 0.5 cents. We actually went lower, right? We went down to 2.8 cents. Right. But so this is kind of cool to see. Perhaps like this is the beginning of that shooting off that bottom, and then we could do some consolidation between maybe 0.5 cent and 2 cents. Maybe that there's a lot of volatility in here because we're resorting the liquidity and trying to get market makers to figure out, what's fair value based on the current supply and demand, based on how much coins are on the market, and after this restabilization period is done, then we should get that break of this downtrend to the top side and really, get back into what I think is more fair value for this coin, which is somewhere around 3 cents. And why do I say that? Well, because if you pull up the combined hex price, the all-time median price is sitting, I think, around 2.8 cents. So I think fair value for just EHEX on its own is somewhere between, let's say, 2.8 and 6.5 cents. I think this is where we'll spend most of our time next year. We might oscillate somewhere below or above that level, but you could see here that 1 cent per combined hexes is basically becoming a price floor. So there's a lot of data and evidence coming in to suggest that this was the bottom, right? And then one other thing, I have some fork and FUD comparisons from earlier in the summer. I think I'll call out Yash Deep. He's one who tends to think that EHEX is a joke and you're morally impaired if you talk about hex on Ethereum to any degree, which I just completely disagree with. I think that's totally baseless. Like, look at what happened to XRP after they got sued by Ripple. That thing ripped up 10x. And how many days was that? 106 days, 10x, right? So there was opportunity in XRP after they got sued, right? Then you got the big payday supply expansion where the entire supply increased by 30%. You got an 89% drop, right? It says 86.44 here. And then we all know what happened after that with the big run up to 56 cents, right? And just within 30 days, it actually ran up a 10x. And then in addition, I went and looked into Bitcoin Cash. Well, what happened when Bitcoin Cash forked off of Bitcoin? Well, there was a period here where Bitcoin Cash underperformed, right? And then it overperformed for the first time. And then they both consolidated sideways, and then it underperformed for an extended period of time, about 2.5 months, and bam, it overperformed for a short period of time. This is Bitcoin Cash overperforming Bitcoin in certain periods of the cycle, right? And then you scoot ahead till the following year, end of 2018. Bitcoin Cash ripped all the way up, straight up, and your time up here is very short, but the opportunity is the same. So when you're thinking about this EHEX trade, maybe this is the way to think about it. What's going to be the driving narrative? Is it going to be cheaper gas fees on Ethereum? Is it going to be that PHEX ran so freaking hard that profits flow out of the more expensive one into the cheaper one? I don't know, but I would definitely be cognizant of that as you're thinking about how you allocate. Here's another one: ETH Classic versus Ethereum. Another thing that Yash calls HEX Classic. Well, just so you know, brother, Ethereum Classic ripped 16,000% in 386 days and actually overperformed Ethereum for 386 days. And then it wasn't until the following 20 or so days that Ethereum caught up and hit up a 20,500% return, beating it by about 4,000% right at the end of the cycle. All right. So here's the following cycle. Now, this is how I think potentially how this cycle could go for EHEX. Like if the market wanted to stay overly bearish on it for an extended period of time, what does that look like? Well, it looks like a fucking long time to accumulate. We're talking 313 days that you could have accumulated Ethereum Classic at cheaper and cheaper prices. Meanwhile, Ethereum's getting more and more expensive. And when this was all said and done, in 30 days, you could have realized the same returns by investing in ETH Classic for that same amount of time, getting better prices and then nuking at the top. So think about these things. You know, this is serious alpha. Hopefully it makes sense. Hex is immutable code. It's the same on both chains. You got the same user base. Most of the guys that really fell for the PHEX only narrative are out, or they're staked too long without taking a penalty. So the runway is cleared. The overhead resistance is gone, and I'm super bullish on both of the hexes for this cycle.
Yeah. Hey, to add one little thing to that, because we hear that question a lot. Well, if it's dead, it's dead. It's too late. Blah blah blah. Well, if all the people who capitulated are out, who's left to capitulate? And so there's fertile ground for other players who maybe want to build that back up to build it back up.
This is the 15-minute chart on EHEX. Wow. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's a good point. That's a very optimistic way of talking about it. Is like, look, if you overextended on the one side of the trade, you know, while these ratios are, look at EHEX popping up even higher on strength right now, breaking back above trend. That's crazy. If like maybe you wait for like a snapback rally right now. So this is the hex ratio. You know, maybe you wait for PHEX to gain a little bit on it and then get up to resistance, and then maybe you make your swap here. You know, that's not out of the question either. This is technically a support line till it's not, which is right around roughly these levels, which is 1.73 EHEX per PHEX.
Of course, for fun, I want to see him go to parity, just for fun. You know.
Yeah, you know that's a funny thing is I don't know if the parity narrative has to be. You know, we'd both love to see it, right? But I don't think it has to happen that way, I guess.
Oh no, of course not. Of course not. Well, you know, my base position on this whole thing is that I think that EHEX is at a discount for a reason, and it's because of the extra cost and time and effort it takes to transact. Right.
Yeah.
And that could change. That could change. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I look at the Gwei. Did anybody think they were going to see 5 Gwei again? But here we are. You know, and not to mention that kind of this a little bit of pat on the back to Hexicans. You know, perhaps we have been running Ethereum. You know,
it sure feels like it. You know, either I think a combination of Hex being one of the most used contracts on Ethereum, and then all the money that the Hexicans made, they were doing everything on Ethereum effectively. And then that being a lot of that activity being ported over to PulseChain. But in addition, I think a lot of these scaling solutions and layer 2s have come online as well. That's helped decrease a lot of the load for Ethereum, like Base or Optimism or Arbitrum or whatever. Pick your other chain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another point too is what if, Vitalik, big brain, comes up with something that makes, all fees cheaper, all of the chains adopt it, and the whole fee narrative goes away, which is, a critical thing for, critical as in, a huge feature set PulseChain offers right now. 5 years from now, we don't have to worry about in-stake fees or otherwise. I know Maximus guys have been making sure that's not a problem otherwise with the pooled staking, but does that change? Does that strengthen EHEX, or does it not matter too much to you? Do you guys think?
Strengthens it because the yield's immutable, right? I think. I was going to say too, like with this liquidity sitting over here on PulseChain, like for EHEX, you can convert your EHEX into anything over here and get dollar value out. There's $1 million of liquidity sitting between the two hexes over here. So yeah, there might not be $1 million sitting on the USDC pair, but you can go from hex to Pulse to DAI, or hex to DAI. So that there is a route forward. I think like a lot of the narrative of low liquidity doesn't really apply because you can bridge it across and get the liquidity you need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what if everyone tries to sell all the houses at once? What if they try to sell it all at once? What happens? What happens to Axis? Go, Chrispy.
Goes to zero.
You're screwed. How about that? Yeah. Well, I definitely see that path over to PulseChain. We've seen that with a couple different tokens like Com Token and some others. where the path is to go to PulseChain. And so I don't know. The future of HEX is, it's as always, it's going to depend on the people who want to participate. If if you don't have anybody come for the token, then what's going to happen? You're just going to earn yield on a low volume token, right? Maybe it dies off over time. But what could change that narrative is you got so much money over there, so many people. Like I saw somebody's post. I don't know if it was you or RHMax. But somebody was posting about there being 10 times the money, 10 times the on ramps. Maybe it was Axis. I don't know.
Wasn't me.
But 10 times, 10 times, 10 times. I mean, there's just so much more opportunity. If people want the yield, they want to get involved with HEX.
Yeah, I mean, and here's your liquidity right here. If you come over here to PulseChain to sell, it's going to route you through all these different pairs: HEX, Pulse, PulseX to get you the DAI. If you're looking to exit, I think when people think about liquidity, they just only strictly think about exiting because we're so PTSD'd from the bear market. They're not thinking about ratio trades and how the money will actually stay in the system during a bull market and just grow and grow and grow and grow.
Hey, something we were talking about earlier too. Super Explain asked, do we have stats to show how much redistribution there's been over this bear? Like how much spread out HEX has gone, big wallets now smaller, small wallets now bigger. Anything on that?
That'd be a good one for Crispy maybe.
Yeah. I haven't. I mean, I have some ancillary information that we had put together. Like HEX rich list stuff that I had previously. Yeah, I mean that would be kind of interesting to see how it's been dispersed. But I don't have that now. One
thing I can pull up on the fly here is just the HEX token contract on PulseChain on the scan.pulsechain.com on the block explorer, and you can go down through here and get a pretty good idea of what the distribution is. Here's a guy with 3 billion, 1 billion, 1 billion, 900 million, 600 million. And then you got some, this is probably the PHUX vault with 200 million in it, 175 million, 150 million. This is liquid balances, so we're not accounting for staked or mining HEX. But just on the first page, the top 100 have 30 million HEX or more. Page 2, patiently waiting. This block scanner is trash. Come on, go Pulse Scan. We need you.
You can do it.
You can do it. We can help. But so I'm gonna make the guess that like there's not many people that has more than 15 to 20 million HEX. Top 200 wallets, maybe liquid, and that's dollar terms at these prices. That's not a ton when you're looking at the amount of money sitting outside of crypto that can come in potentially. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Speaking of PulseChain real quick too, question from Gavina. Can you speak to what happens if Bitcoin and Ethereum decorrelate? How it can affect PulseChain? Any thoughts on that?
Well, that makes the assumption that they can decorrelate, but so if you saw a decorrelation, just means they're going to move in different circles, right? The two of them. I think currently Pulse is very, very strongly tied to Ethereum, more so than Bitcoin, even though we might have some strings through Bitcoin through the fact that people brought money over. But our bridge is from Ethereum, so be pretty tightly paired that way. So an extension of Ethereum's relationship with Bitcoin, I would think.
And just like to be clear, was he talking about Bitcoin and ETH decoupling from us? Is that what he's saying?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, the two of those decoupling from PulseChain, that's a different prospect, isn't it?
Yeah. So my thoughts on that were more like PulseChain's its first cycle. It's its own little walled garden that's not really susceptible to the price moves of that market. Not to say that big players can't watch Bitcoin go down and then they decide to nuke, or go up and then they decide to buy. Like that, sure, that's happening. That's normal, but it's so early in this market is nascent, so it's got less of an impact. One guy making those kinds of, like, you'd have to have a coordinated push from lots of top holders of PulseChain to really affect that. So the decoupling actually could be happening right before our eyes potentially. You're seeing that kind of with the SEC case, and then the crash on Pulse price, and then how Bitcoin's been kind of holding and going up. So they are kind of decorrelated at the moment, but yeah, I just think that they are. I think that generally that we're not going to be so tied to the larger crypto market.
Can you imagine? I mean, I don't know that it'd be great that we were like 100% 0x Coast, but can you imagine methodologies like 0x Coast coming in and that being our connection to TradFi, and then our only correlation after that is is sentiment and feelings. I mean, just how decorrelated that could be.
So I want to talk about stables, but also the bridge. Just something Crispy said about the bridge too. From Ethereum. What if we get bridges from BSC to PulseChain and Polygon to PulseChain, or all these other bridges? Maybe they come online eventually, or maybe Pulse bridges start supporting other networks. Like, does that help? Do we think there's that much economic energy on the other chains to come over to PulseChain? Is it something y'all thought about?
Well, I haven't gone into any detailed analysis of that, but in general, right? If there's economic value, economic energy on another chain that could be ported over, it would help PulseChain. But is it worth putting in an additional bridge and what's required there? I don't know.
If we're going to have like 10 bridges coming up, I know some of them will be great. Some of them may not be. Or again, what a Pulse bridge, you get a little drop down that says, you want to come from Ethereum, you want to come from BSC, you want to come from somewhere else. How good is that for the ecosystem?
Yeah, and I'm just curious too, like how would you even do all this stuff? I mean, so if I create a new bridge, I've got my own tokens because I don't have any control over the tokens that already exist on the current bridge. And so does that mean let's say I want to bring different wrap Bitcoin over, right? So now I have a different version of a wrap Bitcoin that my bridge is backing with the locked value and, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, pretty interesting, right? How all that could possibly play out.
I've been asking Axis some questions about stablecoins a lot recently too, trying to figure out some data around that. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so if you're looking for stablecoin data, I actually suggested to maybe look into Nansen.ai, and actually Silver, the antidote's in the chat right now. He works with Nansen on the regular to look at on-chain movements and balances of stablecoins to kind of get an idea of where the money's flowing. Specifically in regard to PulseChain, I think you could expect leading into this bull market that you might actually see more stablecoins get minted into existence as bigger players are ready to come back online. But yeah, what specifically do you want to know about the stablecoin market?
Just any data that, again, I've been looking at a lot of different trends and stuff that's happened in the past to sort of just kind of inform us of what bullish looks like and what accumulation looks like. And, again, a lot of things right up your alley too, but just looking at all of the different places where it comes from and the indicators and all that outside of the chart even. So stablecoins struck me as something that if we saw them being, staying on chain, but started be converted to other stuff, started using them to buy other things, or vice versa, like having that kind of chart, or just having the ability to see the flows in and out of what happened in the past and compare that to what's happening now. Would that give us any indication what's going on with the macro or otherwise?
Yeah, I wonder if we can find. So this is the stablecoin dominance index. It kind of tells us, who's in control. Are the bears in control? So is stablecoin dominance rising, or are the bulls in control? Is stablecoin dominance falling, and people are putting those stablecoin energy back into cryptos, which is making their price rise, which is making stablecoin dominance come down? That's a big question mark. But the one thing that this chart won't give you, obviously, you could see that stablecoin dominance is in a downtrend and kind of trending sideways now for quite a while. Is what's the actual, outside of the price chart and dominance metric, like what's the actual amount of newly minted stablecoins? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm actually curious to see if there's a chart. USDT mint. I don't know, minted stable coins. Trying to think like if there was a place that I can think of that would have the stable coins minting. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to let me dig around on that a little bit, you know, because obviously you'll be able to see this on certain software. I wonder if CoinGlass has something like that. There's all kinds of data out there, guys. Like you could dig forever. But yeah, an indication of a bull market would be people start coming online with stable coins, and you can look in some of these alerts or bots on Twitter. They'll tell you when True USD was getting minted or when USDT was getting minted. And like usually before a big pump on Bitcoin, you'd see 100 million TUSD minted or a billion USDT minted, whatever it's going to be. And then in the following hours or days, you'll see the price go up. So you want to look for those indicators too, where new coins are being minted. So then theoretically, let's say they minted $1 billion of stable coins today. This dominance metric would go up just because they inflated the supply. And then as soon as they started to pump that money into Bitcoin and ETH and the cryptos, this dominance would fall back down. So maybe this range bound action in here is literally saying that they're minting stable coins and then they're pumping them into the crypto market, minting stable coins, pumping them into the crypto market. And like the longer it did that, you know, the more new dollars is coming into crypto. So that may be something that you want to look for on some of those different tools.
Yeah, I think the stable case is just fascinating because it's, you know, showing the money flow, it's showing where people are putting it. You know, of course, you can come straight into crypto without buying stables and then trading, but I think a lot of the big swaps and dexes and volume and stuff, especially when people are buying coins because they think price is going to go up, may come from stables, buying the different assets. So that's what's fascinating to me about it.
I think the other thing to look to as well is like a stable store of value that you can measure on chain in DeFi at least is like wrap Bitcoin on Ethereum. This is like a really important pair to keep an eye on. And yeah, I know it's not a stable coin per se, but if you come in here and you sort by like you're looking at these volumes, you could see like wrap Bitcoin USDC has done $39 million of volume over the last 7 days, right? Do I have the right one? I think so. I think I do. Yeah, this is it. And you could see how this TVL grew during the bull market of 2021 as Bitcoin rose in value. And then, but it's relatively stable, right? We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of backing. So you could look to the same thing for USDT and USDC. Like you look Tether. This is on the Ethereum chain. You know how much Tether is on chain. Look, it's been pretty stable up until here. We just saw a big dump in August. So where did these stablecoins go? I don't know. Or where did this value go? I don't know. And then you could look at, I wonder if BUSD is on this chain at all. This one's funny because, and Silver, actually, I'm going to pull up Silver's Twitter here for a second. He made a post about stablecoins and showed us like what that actually was looking like. This is not it.
Made a comment as well here. Best indicators now are inflows and outflows of exchanges, but as things more to DeFi with issues, US is quite dry to be honest, but big inflows are really going stealth into ETH staking. Interesting.
Here it is. Yeah. I mean, that's good data to look at. Yep, definitely. And then here, if you want to, like, this is something from the Nansen.ai software. As you could see, that what he's talking about here at the stablecoin exchange flows, how the balance is very low now. So they're coming off the market, which would be an indicator of what maybe this is the indicator here is that look at the BUSD in January 21, and CZ from Binance is printing more and more BUSD, and then he gets under scrutiny from U.S. regulators, and then look, all of a sudden, they're killing off his BUSD, like all that stablecoin, that $2.5 billion has been nuked. Why? Maybe it's to prop up BNB, maybe it's to buy BTC, or maybe they're whoever they would borrow the money from to mint the coin. that collateral was pulled. Who knows what but the takeaway here is that USDC and BNB, BUSD have both seen huge downside in them total minted stables, whereas Tether's been relatively stable, and DAI as well down here on these lows of this bear market. Now, as the crypto values go up, theoretically, there's more collateral than if inside of DeFi to mint more stable coins, and that's why you see this pink line on the bottom with DAI go up during a bull market, is because the backing value of the creation of those stable coins goes up because Bitcoin rises in price, Ethereum rises in price, HEX and PulseChain rise in price. More collateral, you can mint more stable coins, through the DeFi protocol. And then when the bear market hits, all that stable coins has to come back off because it's only backed by the dollar value of the collateral that backs it. So definitely interesting. Thank you, Silver, for doing your work and for putting that out there.
Yeah, I did not see that tweet, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Oh yeah, for sure, brother.
What do you guys want to wrap up on? What coming up close to the power hour, almost there.
Crispy, do you want to show these guys the little thing you did for the Axis token? I know it's not ready to share fully, but
yeah, I don't even have that up. So I mean, I wouldn't show that.
Don't show it. Okay.
Because they're trying to dig at the data, digging at the data. How about? Did you want me to pull up? But
it might be too much anyway. It might be too good.
Do you want to pull up that panel we were talking about for the daily stats, or you want to pull
this one?
Up? Yeah, you're looking at that.
So this is pretty cool. You get this like quad view of. This is like a 4-dimensional view of the HEX contract, right? So Crispy set up this, what I call like the master HEX dashboard. You can see down here in the corner, like a lot of the important metrics, right? So the price of HEX on PulseChain, the 28-day volatility rating, the T-share rate, the holder count, the staker count, the daily payout. It's all of the metrics you need to understand a 360-degree view of the HEX contract. So if volatility increases, it means big players are making a splash in either direction. If you're seeing a big injection here on the T-share rate pumping up big, and in addition to that, the estimated share rate that you can branch off and see the future rate increases, you'd be able to combine this data to see like, well, if there's going to be a huge rate increase, are we going to see an increase of price because people may be accumulating to front run that and stake early. Now, right now, staking rates are lower than they will be in a bull market, so maybe that won't have as much of an effect, but that effect may be magnified later on as the bull market goes on. And then in addition, down here, bottom right panel, you can see holder and miner adoption over time, both trending up, positive slope, and then just the general trend of the daily payouts has been trending up. This yellow dotted line has us set to go somewhere to probably, let's see, what is that? It looks to me like it's like 70 to 72 million, maybe somewhere in that range. By in the not too distant future, maybe what do you think? Like 3 to 5 years, we'll be seeing 70 to 75 million HEX per day paid out. It would be like a little bit over a 12% increase.
Yeah, well, it only goes up and to the right. So I actually have another sheet that we can look at sometime with the forecast of where it'll go. But yeah, it only goes up and to the right. What creates the volatility and the weirdness on the charts are the penalties, right? Because payout from inflation, every day more and more HEX is minted. Once HEX is ever minted, it then gets subject to that inflation. So yeah.
Yeah, so shout out to Crispy. You can even click this button and it'll animate it out from the beginning, which is pretty sweet. But I don't want to crash it.
Beautiful charts, gentlemen. I mean, this is mind blowing. Very, very cool stuff.
Crispy's pretty kick ass, man.
What's the man? Cut it out.
Make him blush.
Making me blush. I mean, you guys, it takes a team, not a village, but a team.
Yeah. Crispy the man.
So they got some people talking about the Axis chart here in the panel here. So let's before we go out, let's give them some Axis chart. One of the best performing charts on PulseChain. Proud to say it too. This is the linear chart. I'm just going to kind of go through a brief history of what happened. and then kind of give you the chain analysis on what's happened in the last couple of days. So this here on the linear chart, if I flip to log, your hexagons like your log button. I mean, this is pretty crazy. So let's just discard the beginning because it was pretty low volume. There's probably only like 3 to 5 grand that came in back then. We'll start somewhere around here where the price was around like $5 to $6, because that's really where the chart really started to get real adoption. So you could basically say that in the early days the only man buying Axis off market was Chrispyman, because Chrispy and I came together and we built out this kind of dynamic duo. He came to me with the idea. By the way, you guys, you can blame Funding Jim for this, right? Because Funding Jim didn't make a coin for me and for Xfire, so we just decided we're going to make our own.
That's right, damn it, we made our own.
That's the story.
That's the story.
When's RHMax? When
RHMax coin?
Yeah, I have one. It's called hex.com, baby.
There you go. Perfect answer. So, first of all, what's the goal of this whole thing? The goal is to be a tool to understand liquidity, chain analysis, and technical analysis. It's something that I use in my paid group to explain those relationships of the I call it the pure. Let's see, what do I say? It's like a perfect fusion of those 3 disciplines, because if you can master those 3 disciplines, you can be a master of DeFi. And so it's cool being able to use this chart as an example, because it goes back, and we were there at the beginning. We got to see everything. Every single player that's ever been inside and out of this chart is documented, and the prices performed like crazy on top of it, so it just made it even sweeter. But I want to draw your attention here to around early September, where this actually started to see some crazy adoption from some hex sharks and hex dolphins. And this hex shark from Randy Holarski's group comes in here, and he pumped the price from, well, there's 2 guys. There was like a dolphin that came in and pumped the price for early to like $1,500 a token with, I don't remember what the volume was. The volume bar here says, so 7 grand. They were able to pump this price up roughly 137% in like no time, like minutes. And then that sold back down pretty hard, back to around 850. And then Randy's whale buddy comes in, and he just cremates the price and pushes it up like 10x in like 15 minutes. And that was the day that I realized that we had something special here, that we were getting support from people in the community that really cared and recognized the value that people like Hexfire and myself have been splitting our spleen out for years, trying to promote everyone's Hex and Pulse bags. And that was meant a lot to me personally. And so I took it upon myself to try to create the most value in this token as possible. So then there was this 89% retrace in price. And, long story short, we created this giant technical pattern called an ascending triangle. It got to the edge of the pattern and busted out the top, and it just ripped all the way up to this high level of like 12,500-ish range. So just look at where we're at now. In the recent days, so this was yesterday, we've been seeing these like Bart Simpson patterns playing out on the chart. But the bid's small, but like the bid is big when it comes in. It comes in hot and fast. And what actually happened here on the chart was there was a guy that the top trader on DexScreener. So if you go down here to DexScreener, you can actually sort by top traders. This guy here, 25A5, he's a whale. He's extracted 19.5K out of the chart. He's bought $3,200. So his P&L, his total sold is 22 grand, but his P&L is 19.5K. So this guy, just by the basis of it, he did the best in Axis history, right? He's made the most money off the chart. And he came in here yesterday, somewhere around here. This was on the 14th, and he bought. So there was a whale that comes in here, pushes the price up, then he comes in and pushes up behind him, and then a couple other people come in, and then over the last few days, he kind of had a bit of a trigger finger, and this is the kind of guy that he's already made good money on it. He doesn't want to lose any money. So it's what it seemed like based on the chain analysis was that he was just selling on top of people's heads. So what happened was, and this was just the craziest thing, I woke up in the morning, this whale that bought this candle here nukes the price from 9,300 all the way down to 5,500, sells his entire stack in one go. And then the bots come in and they push it back up a little bit. And then that guy that bought this candle here that made all that money on the chart dumps the price back down to $5,000 and he exits his position at a loss. And then the craziest thing happens. This whale that nuked his position buys back 130 million market buy, 130 million pulse market buy, and leaves that guy in the dust. And this is like a perfect example of whale wars on the chart where dude comes in, pumps the chart, protects his position. This wasn't this guy's first buy. He had also been buying in here and here. And so then he was just trying to protect his position. This guy comes in and starts like using the chart for gain. This guy comes in, nukes his bag, and shakes that guy out, and then pumps it back up. And so then ever since then, we've been on an uptrend. So I hope that's been educational and valuable. That's part of the reason why I made this coin, was to teach people how not to lose money. Don't play silly games, or a bigger whale will come and eat your lunch.
There are water wars and there are whale wars, and
water wars. We learned a lot of stuff. I learned a lot of stuff. We probably need 2 hours to talk about that. So not.
Oh boy, that's that is a topic on its own. Gentlemen, excellent stream. Boy, I'm gonna have fun clipping this one. Such good stuff. Appreciate you both, like masters at so many different things and creating value in the community, and that's why I love having you both on. Like you just killing it.
Yeah,
we are killing
Max,
it. The community's killing it.
Thanks, buddy. Oh yeah, man. Now's the time for hope, not fear. Not fear.
Hashtag winning. Never stop doing it. Crispy, start with you. What do you want to take us out
on? Just HexFire.io. Come check out the site. Or go hexfire.io. We're here on YouTube or Twitter. HexFire.io.
HexFire.io. Best charts. I don't know. I always say best charts in the business, but there are so
100%.
many great charts out there. It's like
best data set.
It's like everyone's number one. Like who has a bad chart? It's so good.
Yeah. Thank you, Max, for having me back again.
Thank you.
I'm happy to come back in anytime. Just hit me up on the DM. You got my number. Thank you everybody in the chat for being part of the chat today and being active. RHMax really appreciates it when people show up and participate, and hopefully you all learned something and gained some value here. If you want to find out more about me, come to AxisAlive.com. Maybe sign up for a membership for a month, check it out, see what it's all about. Or schedule a call, or find me on Twitter at AxisAlive. Appreciate you all, and I'm not going anywhere. Stake Hex 5555, baby.
55. That is your Hex Power Hour. Are you not entertained? I hope you're not entertained. Entertained. Are you not?
Like a different thing. Are you not insane? I am.
Are you not insane after listening to this for an hour and 28 minutes? Fantastic. EHEX again, perfect timing. Pump to the moon. Hopefully it just keeps going and never stops. We never know though. That's why we have all these metrics to look at and make your own choices, make your own decisions.
Bye.
That's all we got for you today. Scivive and 5555.